That's a pretty exciting prospect, but also can be pretty intimidating for you as you look ahead and go, what am I going to do? Where am I going to end up? What is my life journey going to be like? And that's something we can't totally forecast or predict, but at least you can plan in some ways what this rest of your life can look like, how you can be productive citizens of India or other countries, how you can contribute to society, how you can shape the world. These are very, very uncertain times in terms of the entire globe. Lots of uncertainty, lots of wars going on, uh, definitely a lot of geopolitical situations facing India and facing other countries as well. So can be a little intimidating, can be a little concerning, but you have such a big impact you can make. So let's look at this. So your parents have pretty much given you a formula that worked for them. But I'm going to give you a formula that hopefully will work for you, not for me, right? My journey, like Ravi said, Ravi and my journeys are in the last 25%, and you guys are in the last 80% of your journey. So just keep that in mind. And so when you look at 100 years, I'd like to divide it up into four segments, 0 to 25. Okay. So 0 to 25. And by the way, I'll set aside definitely time for questions towards the end of the program. I'll probably give you a feel for this journey, give you some thought-provoking ideas and questions for you to ponder for 30, 40 minutes, and then we'll set aside 15, 20 minutes for you to ask questions. So first part, 0 to 25, curiosity, right? This is curiosity and education. You're all, I think, students of different universities, schools, etc. today. You will be graduating soon, or you just graduated. And that's the first step, right? You're young, you're curious, you want to know what life is all about. And this is something you need to focus on is exploration. What else have you missed in the first 25 years of your journey? Is there something you've been wanting to do and you've not done it? This is the perfect time. You still have time in the first part of your journey to do that. So definitely anything you've missed, try to see if you can do it. Also, the education part. It's not just educating yourself in the university. It's socializing with your peer group, going and doing other things outside of university, outside of college. These are all the things you should be open to today, doing today, really equipping yourself with education, with knowledge, with experience that you only get when you are your age. Your mind is still full of ideas, full of curious questions. Please use your time, get them answered as best you can. And so that's where you're at. So the first 25 years you've spent educating, experiencing different things, letting your curiosity take the best of you and find out different things to do, right? But the second part of the journey is going to be a little different than your parents. Your parents or grandparents, when you go to them and see them, they're going to tell you, look, you got your degree, fantastic. Now you get a job. Then in a year or two, they're going to ask you the big question, are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? Okay, that question is coming pretty soon. Okay, especially if you're a girl. It's going to come pretty quickly. Get married. And then the next question after marriage, when are you going to have kids? Okay. And the traditional journey has been by 30 years old, you've got a job, you're married, you have kids. But what they didn't realize really is the next 70 years of your journey are still ahead of you. So the question that people are asking today in this 100-year journey is, why are you using the formula your parents used? And I hope if there's some parents and you tell them about this, I hope they won't be offended with me. But the reality of this new journey is the next 25 years that are ahead of you is where you experience life, the realities of life. You experience growth in your own personal life as well. So it's all about experience and growth coming into play. So this is where it can take a different path. I know the poll questions said you want to be an entrepreneur. Very few of you said, I want a stable job. That is very, very interesting. And that reflects what all of you are thinking is you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do work for a global company, you want to really become global citizens. So you don't want to just shape what is happening in India, but you as a young group want to shape what happens in the whole world, in the universe. So that's very exciting journey. So I would say this is the time not just to look for a job in a global company or do a startup, but also maybe experience life in different forms. Maybe some of you have already thought, should I go work in an NGO? Should I go help others? Should I travel? Should I take a backpack and travel from Kanyakumari to Kashmir? Should I do something that really is an experience that I can, enjoy now and not put out for the future? Because my one motto in life has always been the Nike slogan, just do it. I think if you'd seen some of my other talks, I keep using that often because when people come to me, and I think the announcer earlier said, I do a lot of things, but one of the things I do is I mentor young people, but I also meet with young people, at least one or two, entrepreneurs a week and I've been doing this for 27, 28 years. So I've met at least 5,000 plus entrepreneurs who are starting their journey, who don't even have a slide deck, who have a vague idea of what they want to do, to people who have an idea, who have a slide deck, who have left their jobs to start a company. So I find entrepreneurs in various parts of their journey and I've met them. And that's part of my way of giving back to society is just to meet these people, help them with their presentations, help connect them to investors or other entrepreneurs to get interesting experiences or to find them customers or find them funding. So these are all the things that I do on a regular basis. So as you're starting your journey, though, one thing I ask people is, are you sure you want to be an entrepreneur? That's something you need to really think of before you jump into it. Because an entrepreneurial journey is very exciting, but also very intimidating, filled with risk, but filled with tremendous amount of success as well. So it's not a straight line where, you start a company and you keep going 45-degree angle to the right. It's up and down, zigzagging. So you go up, you come down, you go up. So it's a journey that's unpredictable, a journey that's exciting, but something you have to be prepared for as someone who's not been an entrepreneur before. But I would contend to you, before you become an entrepreneur, ask the question, is there something you've always wanted to do in life that is not related to work? Like I said, do you want to work in an NGO? Do you want to work with poor people? Do you want to travel? I know someone who took a backpack, started in Kanyakumari, and just walked across the country for 2.5 years. Incredible journey. He found out what real India was all about by going from village to village to village. Just think of the excitement and the uncertainty when you take a journey like that. And he did this with no money. He decided right up front, even though he had money, that he would conduct this journey across India without spending a rupee. And you know what he found? He found how good human beings Indians were. He was able to go from village to village without any money. People welcomed them into their huts or homes, gave him food, gave him sustenance. He also ended up helping them in the villages because he had an MBA before he did this. He was able to help the villagers as he went along the way. And he was able to then find out from the first village, they had some friends in a second village that was 20 miles north of them. And so he was able to then go to the next village and the next village. And then 2.5 years later, he ended up in Kashmir. Just think of the amount of experience and knowledge you could gain and the amount of help you could give people and the amount of help you could receive from other Indians by doing a journey like that. Just think of that. Let that sink in. Are you willing or prepared to undertake a journey that has nothing to do with a job, that has nothing, and your parents may be completely freaked out when you tell them you're going to walk or you're going to backpack across India or a different country or whatever be it, right? Or that you're going to work for an NGO that's going to, feed young people or poor people. I mean, these are things for you. This is the best time. This is the absolutely best time. Hopefully, you don't have big student loans or you don't owe people money or your parents need your help in repaying loans and so on and so forth. But again, if you're able to do it, this is the best time to do something other than working in a global company or starting a startup. Okay. Just think of that. Think of that as you proceed over the next 25 years. And so this is a journey you need to map out from 25 to 50, right? This is your career development. You can try different roles, different industries, different geographies. You don't have to stay in the town you're in. You can go to a different town, different city, so forth. You also start building relationships. You don't necessarily need to get married tomorrow, but at least you can start forming relationships with friends, with people. You build your professional networks, right? So if you're now in the 25 to 50 years, you've done some exploration, you get into a job, building your networks, building your relationships. Uh, and also, this is the time you're taking calculated risks. I think 40% of you said you want to do a startup. That is a very, very risky proposition. I have done 3 startups myself, and I have to tell you this. The first startup I did failed. The second startup I did failed. Third time I got lucky, and the third startup was a success. But I know friends who have done 4, 5, 6 startups, and they still haven't succeeded. So again, doing the startup work, you might hear of the success that you see in the media. Company X has succeeded and it's a unicorn, it's worth billions. That is one in a million that happens to someone. So just go into a startup knowing there's a high likelihood you're going to fail. You're going to fail. But you take risks. You have to take those risks and learn life lessons. And maybe it's not your first startup, maybe it's your second one, or you go work in a company and then you start another company later on during this 25 to 50-year lifetime. Okay. So, and then, you know, failure is going to be a big teacher for all of you because this is the time in your life, like Ravi was mentioning, hindsight is always great, but as you look forward, you don't know what mistakes you're going to make and what mistakes you are making in taking that leap forward. So you will learn a lot, and failure is a teacher. Don't look at failure as a stigma. That was the old way to look at failure, especially in India. When you failed in a startup, they would say, "Oh, he's failed." Uh, but today's system and DNA is if you've failed, you've learned a lot. Give that person another chance to do something because they've learned a lot from their failures. Okay. So 25 to 50, this is the time frame for you to take calculated risks. This is the time to build your network, build your experience, and really learn from failure. So don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid of failure. Embrace failure. In fact, there's a conference here where I live in San Francisco called FailCon. And believe it or not, this is one of the conferences that's always sold out because people want to come and talk about their failures. Other people want to come and learn about your failures. For example, in my case, 2 companies failed. I learned a lot more from those 2 experiences than the one that succeeded. Because when you succeed, you keep moving on and everything looks much better. But you didn't learn as much as when you failed. Okay? Then when, hopefully during the 25 to 50 years, you've done a lot of things. You've also formed relationships, maybe gotten married, maybe have kids. There's time in this journey, 25 to 50, to do all that stuff. Because when you reach 50, guess what? You have 50% of your life still ahead of you. Okay, just think of that. So it's not like your life is going to, complete. You still have 50 years of your journey. So as you are looking at this, what do you do from age 50 to 75, roughly, right? This is the age when you have purpose. You have a lot more clarity on what your life is all about, what your life is in the universe. What is that about? What is your purpose? What is the purpose of your life? And also, how fulfilling is your life? This is the time to say, am I still doing the right thing? Am I happy? Is my family doing well? Are they happy? What else do I need to do to fulfill expectations? Okay. This is 50 to 75. So again, you will shift from just being successful is one thing to be significant, which means you want to make an impact on society, impact on your family, impact on your friends, become significant in your own way. I'm not saying you want to be a billionaire and help everyone or anything like that, but in your own way, you've become significant. You're impacting society. Okay. This is the time when you've had a lot of your experiences, you've learned from life. You can now impart that knowledge to others. Hopefully, you go from being a mentee to a mentor in this phase of your life. Okay. And you pay back. There have been a lot of people in your life who will be your mentors, who will be your advisors, who will be helping you when you're between 50 and 75. It is your time to help the next generation. So always think of giving back, giving. Even now, you should be giving in a different way. Maybe you can't be a mentor today because maybe you don't have the experience, but you should still make seva or selfless service, as we call it in India, something that is integral to your life journey every step of the way, whether you're in the exploration phase, the fulfillment space, the impact phase, you still need to be thinking about service or seva all the time. That's something I do every day. And I'll tell you the secret of my energy that I get is really from helping others. I think if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be as energetic. I wouldn't be getting up in the morning saying, I got to go do my day's work without thinking of helping others. Okay, that is age 50 to 75, right? This is when you've formed, like I said, family, friends, relationships, networks, you're a mentor, you're doing significant things, you're giving it both your time, your money, and your companies are doing the same, and so on and so forth. And then you come to the final stage of your life. I think Ravi and I are somewhat in getting to this or in that stage, which is, 75 to 100 years, when you really are reflecting a lot more. You're trying to figure out, what have I done right? What have I done wrong? What could be better for not just me, but for my family, for society, etc. Right? I have infinite wisdom today because I'm much older. I've learned from my mistakes. I've seen other people make mistakes. And so I think this is a time when you'll have plenty of time, 75 to 100, to really look at different things in your life. But you still will be learning. Trust me, I still learn. I still meet with entrepreneurs, like I said, young entrepreneurs, and they teach me a lot. Every meeting I have, they ask questions that I've never thought before. They tell me about things that I never dreamt I could do before. So the life is still a learning journey. I don't think I know everything. I know maybe 1% of all the things that I need to know. And so I'm always still curious. I'm always still learning. I'm always talking to young people because I learn more from young people than my own peer group, because we have had so much scars and so many lessons learned. Our thinking is not as fresh as someone your age can think. Okay. And you're really taking this time to contribute back in a much more meaningful way. When you're 75 to 100, you're helping your friends, your family, you're mentoring a lot more people. You have time to do that. Okay. So this is something where you'll get a lot of fulfillment by helping others. This is when you really see how much your effort can help many others in society. Okay. So these are the four phases. Let me relate some of this to what I have done in my journey. I think you might have heard something about me. You have read up, or you might have seen some podcasts and so on and so forth. But my journey was somewhat similar in some sense, because I did my bachelor's in commerce, accounting. I didn't like accounting. So then I tried a stint at trying to do law. I did a couple of years of law, got my bachelor's of general law, but I didn't want to be a lawyer. So I didn't go that track either. Then I came here to the United States to do my MBA, but I didn't know what that was. I thought first I'll be in operations management. Then I thought maybe I'll try a hand at marketing. I still didn't know when I finished my MBA what I wanted to be in life. Okay. And then I went into a manufacturing company to get a job. I didn't know that was what I wanted, but that was the only job available to me. So when I was in that, I got a break in life. And sometimes that can happen to you as well. And I hope it does. You get a big break when you're not even thinking about it. I met someone in my first job. I was doing some training, and this person said, with your background, with an MBA, working on computers, just keep in mind, I was working on computers in the year 1982, way before you guys were born. Okay. And he suggested to me at that time, I was living in Houston, Texas. He suggested that I was wasting my time and that I should move to this place called Silicon Valley. 1982, Silicon Valley. In 1982, how does one, whether you're in the US or overseas, how do you find out what Silicon Valley is? Where is it? What happens in Silicon Valley? How do you get to Silicon Valley? There was no internet, no Facebook, no LinkedIn, none of this systems that you have at your hand today, or chat GPT exist. You can't go and just say, tell me about Silicon Valley. What is it all about? How do I get there? How do I get a job? None of these resources existed when I was there. But I took a risk, and I just wrote a bunch of people and said, this is my background. I need a job. And this was regular mail, you know, getting an envelope, putting my resume in, typing the address, putting a postage stamp, going to the post office. That's how you had to do it in those days, right? For you, that might seem ancient, but when I was there, that's how you had to do it. And so when I did that, luckily one company, which was a startup, I didn't know that, interviewed me on the phone and then flew me out to California and hired me on the spot. That was luck. So you need sometimes a big break. If this consultant had told me I should go to California, I would have never done it. Or second, many people would have listened to the advice but not acted on it. They would have still stayed in their job because they felt comfortable. You have a job. And I noticed in your polling, many of you didn't want that stable job. By the way, there are no more stable jobs in the world, right? You know there are going to be layoffs. You know you're going to be interested in something, or the company shuts down, whatever be it. There are no stable jobs. But I took that risk of actually listening to someone's advice, leaving Houston and moving to Silicon Valley, right? And even when I moved to Silicon Valley, I didn't know startups was the way to go, right? At that time, there was no term called startups. I know today in the poll question, it said, do you want to do a startup? There was nothing in those days called startups. You just had a company, okay? And I didn't know that was my journey. So I did that for a long period of time in tech, failed, then succeeded. But then I quit because I didn't think that that was the way for me to keep going. So when I quit, I didn't know what to do. I became something called angel investor. So at that time, there was no category of investing called angel investing. You were either an employee or a founder, or you were a venture capitalist. So everybody mistook me for a venture capitalist till I had to tell them I invest my own money and not other people's money, right? And I've done about 150 investments to date. It looks like a lot, but over a 25-year period, that's about six a year. Not that many when you break it down into a per annum basis, right? And so that afforded me, again, luck has a lot to do in life. That set of angel investments has afforded me the opportunity, the luxury of not having had a job in the past 25 plus years. So I was able to then pursue my passion, which is to build communities and networks that make an impact. Okay. So I built a community of CEOs in the tech sector where everybody pays a membership fee of $10,000 a year. We take all the profits and give it to nonprofits. So I don't make any money from pulling this enterprise group of CEOs together for a retreat, for Zoom programs, and so forth. We give all the profits to nonprofits. And over time, given millions of dollars to different nonprofits. So that's when I really realized both I love building communities that make an impact, but also I love networks, platforms, and things where you can use that to influence others, to help others, and so forth. Then I started my second network around sustainability because a lot of you now are going to face the impact of what my generation and previous generations have done with causing climate change. You'll have extreme heat in some cities in India or extreme drought in some other places in India. So this is going to become commonplace. And so people like you have to deal with that, whether you like it or not. And so I started a forum called the Corporate Eco Forum, where large companies, Fortune 500 companies, get together to mitigate climate risks. So that's called the Corporate Eco Forum. That's my second network that I started. And then more recently, 13 years ago, I started my third network called Indiaspora. And you can go to our website, all of you are Indian. So Indiaspora is a network and a platform that helps both the diaspora, the 30 million people like me and Ravi that live outside of India, and of course, the 1.4 billion of you who live in India. So this is a nonprofit that really connects diaspora, the 30 million of us, with India to help India and to help Indians. And so you can go to our website, indiaspora.org. We have a newsletter. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want, and many ways to connect with us, right? So now I'm in the phase of my journey where I've got these communities, they make an impact. That's why I work full time, full time. Okay. But that's kind of how my journey has been. I've made a lot of mistakes. When I look back, I did some things right. Between my first job and second job, I took a backpack and I traveled across Europe and India for 7 months. And that was a great part of my life, which I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did it. Okay, because I couldn't do that now. I couldn't carry a backpack if I wanted for 7 months and travel around Europe and travel around India, you know. So there are a lot of things you can do. If you want to start a nonprofit, this may be also be a good time for you to start an NGO. So again, for you, there's an American expression that says, life is your oyster. You are at a phase in your life, you can shape your 100-year journey any which way you want. There is nothing that's impossible for you to achieve because you've got intelligence, you got the smarts, you got family, you got friends, you got the network, and you got the skills to really do whatever you want. Okay. So to recap, that's the 4 phases of a 100-year journey. I hope you've taken some notes. I hope I've given you some advice, although keep in mind this is free advice. So treat it for what it is. But you know, you are in an exciting phase. You have 80% of your life ahead of you. Go enjoy it. Have a great time and all the best. Ravi, now back to you for any questions.
Thank you, MR. That was very, very inspiring, and really to have that 100-year vision, and because almost all attendees are in the first phase, and if I took notes, and I hope everybody did, you talked about the importance of giving. I recently was interviewing the author of this book called Give First, because when you start giving to other people, it comes back to you in 100x in terms of return. So younger people doing seva, because that's where you will meet people like you, and never ask what's in it for me so early in your life.
Yeah,
Okay. And you
absolutely. No,
also
no, expect nothing in return. Just give, and there is karma always in life. Just give. No expectations. You'll get anything back.
Exactly, wonderful. And you also advised all the young people to take some adventure project. I think that is a fantastic advice, because Don't think that you will graduate from college, get a job. In fact, the ideal job never comes in the first try. MR did mention that he tried law, he tried accounting, he tried the first startup. It has happened to all of us. So those of you who are, if you get an opportunity, just take it, try it. Okay, don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Don't wait for the Amazons and Googles of the world. Whatever opportunity you get, do it well. Put your heart and soul. And you also mentioned about taking action, because the consultant who advised you, yeah, 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 many people tell you this, but then you said no, let me do it, because you have to do the unknown. That's when the opportunities happen. So really inspiring. One question I have is, because we have such a young audience, Amar, what would be, if three things that they should be doing starting tomorrow to make sure the first 25 years they're fully ready for the next phase?
Yeah, one thing is, make sure you finish your education, right? One of the things that, again, it depends on each person, but it's now sexy to drop out of college. It's especially here in the US, you'll say, oh, he's got a startup, he dropped out of college. Sometimes that's a badge of honor. I don't know necessarily if that is good or bad. Some people use it. But if you're going to complete something, and as long as it's not terrible, that you're not totally frustrated, you don't want to complete it, maybe you should complete things you start out to do, right? So I'd say complete your education, but also before you get a job or before you do a startup, just think, is there something else that I've always wanted to do, right? Because there's always a time in life when things you can do certain things, and there's time in life when you cannot do those things, right? So, like I told you, the example of my friend who walked across from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Not everybody can do this uh, later in life. Earlier in life, you can handle it, right? So there are things when you're young that you can do that you cannot possibly do when you're older. So if there's something that always has been saying, I got to do it, like I said, just do it. Just do it. Don't procrastinate. I could have said, like, to the consultant, okay, I'll do it next year. I'll go to Silicon Valley next year, right? And that may never happen to a lot of us. Maybe I got married, then I say my wife says I don't want to move, then something else happens, and he never moved to Silicon Valley. And I think, what would be my life? I think I would be a middle level manager, or a vice president or something in a company in Texas. Okay. Very different life. I'm not saying it'll be good or bad. That would have been my life. But instead, I found myself in the best place in the world where innovation and disruption and everything happens and wealth gets created and new companies get formed. There's no other place I would rather be than in San Francisco and the Bay Area. It is such, as you know, such an exciting, vibrant community and society that anything is possible, right? We don't think they're obstacles. We think we can overcome them. Anything is possible. Like you've started this mentor club. That's possible. Maybe you were sitting somewhere else in the US. You may not have thought of that and you may not have done it. And that's what life leads you sometimes. You don't know, but you got to try.
Yeah, in fact, somebody asked a question, you know, as a fresher looking to differentiate, what kind of projects would you recommend, right? And I think so something that I see, Amar, in India is, especially young people want something, given to them. They go to an interview and they're waiting for the job. So one word I can tell you to all of you, and I'm sure Amar will agree, is waiting is the worst thing to do. Don't wait for things to come to you. You should go to things, go to events, go talk to new people, go interview even if there is not the right career, because you never know. And a lot of young people are like making job search a job in itself. That cannot be, right? Job search is important, but allocate enough time to network, enough time to learn, especially in the world of AI. When you have such powerful tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity, there's so much you can learn. Keep learning, and keep meeting new people.
And I'll tell you one thing, Ravi, this is even at my age, right? You still have to do things. For example, I was going to be in India last year, and I was going to go to a conference. The conference got canceled. I'd already booked my tickets, and it was non-refundable, right? So I said, okay. Sorry, my lights are giving me trouble. I I had a day. I had a day in India. So I was talking to a friend of mine who was also going to this event, and I was just saying, maybe we should go meet the Dalai Lama. I'm not, this is not kidding you. Crazy idea, right? So even today said, let's go meet the Dalai Lama. And my friend goes, oh, that seems like we can, it's a good idea. So he said, I'm going to write the Dalai Lama's secretary. This is a true story. Dalai Lama's secretary and ask for an appointment. And you won't believe it. We got an email back saying, yes, the Dalai Lama would like to see you. He didn't know us, his secretary. So 2 days later, we are in Dharamshala going to meet the Dalai Lama. They didn't know who I was. They didn't know I was a big founder of Indiaspora or whatever. None of that. It was just a request. So as young people, probably you had a better shot of meeting the Dalai Lama than me, right? You just say, I'm a 20-year-old. I want to come to Dharamshala and meet. You never know. It's okay to ask. I may have not gotten the meeting, but I was shocked. I was shocked. And we had 5 minutes with the Dalai Lama, the best 5 minutes that I can remember in a long time in my life, right? When he was holding my hands, I could feel the energy and his flow into me. That was one of the moments I'll remember, but it just happened. I could have said, what is it's a crazy idea. Who is going to give a meeting? Who's going to get a meeting with the Dalai Lama? It must be a president or someone. A prime minister gets a meeting, right? Never know. So ask, like you said, see, ask people. Worst thing that is a no, right? Worst thing is no, I cannot do it.
Mm. Lots of questions
Yeah, please.
about internships in NGOs. Like you mentioned Seva, and I was part of NGO even in my high school, right? And I was recently talking about how it has shaped me. So, Amar, what are your thoughts? Because the job situation in India and of course around the world is in a transformation now, but there are jobs. Okay, humans are required for companies. Every company is hiring that, and we are looking for that uniquely able people, right? So something that somebody has done something unique. Everybody has a degree, everybody has some grades. So what are your thoughts on these young people, offering some time in an NGO? How do you think it will help them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my children have done that as well. Is it First of all, time, you can give your time for free. Even if you're a student, even if you have a job in a global company or a startup, you can carve out an hour or two of your day to do something, right? And it's something you have to do forcibly, intentionally. But I think a lot of NGOs, if you go to them with just volunteering time, there's a good chance that they will accept it, right? If you're looking for a job, that's a different thing. A job in an NGO might be more difficult. NGOs themselves don't have much money and resources. So I would start off, if you liked an idea, like working in an old age home, volunteer your time, and maybe then you'll get a job there too. They might see how good you are and then say, hey, why don't you come work here, right? But the thing is, do something, like you said, for free with no expectations. So that is the best way of getting to do something in an NGO, is to just offer your time. And one thing we found, we did a survey of Indian Americans around philanthropy. More Indians are offering time more than money, which I think is better. Writing a check is easy for me. I write a check to an NGO for $100 and go, I feel good. But if I gave 2 hours to the NGO, I would feel even better.
Right. Because again, I say this in my talks, money can be made again, but time, even this 1 hour you're giving us is actually gone for you and for us, for everybody else, right? August 25, 6:30 to 7:30 in the morning is gone for everybody. So the fact that you're giving time is a lot more valuable than money, because it cannot be made again.
Yeah.
So I want to share a story. Recently, I was on a panel in San Francisco about the value of mentorship, and there were two Caucasians, two Americans. They were both in India. They were both in Brindavan, actually packing food because every day at Brindavan they give out close to 100,000 free meals to people in the city
Yeah.
in near Mathura, Brindavan, right? So both Caucasians, Americans, they were both packing food, and that is how they met. They're both from San Francisco, but they did not know each other. They went to do seva. Now, one of them was just an intern, and the other guy was actually a founder of a venture capital firm. And in the last 10 years, since they met accidentally in that seva time, the, the intern now has become the CEO of the company founded by the other person.
Wow.
So somebody was asking about NGO. That is where you will meet other leaders. So every opportunity you have, you will find people like you. And people say you have to get lucky, but luck doesn't happen if you sit in your sofa and watch TV. Luck
Yeah.
happens when you are out there. So whatever it is, do it with full passion, especially at early on in your life.
Yeah. That's a good point. If you do something, give it 100%. Otherwise, it won't work. And then
It
you'll
won't
go, I
work.
failed, you know?
Yeah. Now there's one question about, especially a lot of students, at least in my time, everybody came to the US from IIT. Is now a good time to come to US for masters? You think, MR? Just
Uh,
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, there's a lot of immigration issues now in the US, which you've heard about in the media. And a lot of it is true. A lot of it might be exaggeration or infactual reporting, but a lot of it is true. Um, and, so you have to weigh the cost also, right? So the old model, when I came, and probably when you came, I could come here, do my MBA. I got practical training visa. Then I got my green card. Then I got citizenship. That was a pretty reasonably smooth process. Today, that process is uncertain. So you might say, I'll come to the US, I'll take a student loan for $100,000 in India, whatever, 80 lakhs or whatever. And then I don't know if I'll get a job in the US to repay that amount or not, right? So it's a big risk that you need to put into your assessment when you consider that. And so the risk is you'll finish your degree, you'll have to come back to India. And if you came back to India, will you get a job to repay your loans or whatever obligations you have? So it's something you need to do an assessment. It's not something I would just say yes or no quickly. Each circumstance is different, but you have to really, really, and this is not just for the US. Same thing is happening in the UK, Canada, Australia. All these countries are putting in new requirements that prohibit or make it harder for a foreign student to get a job. And that's going to happen more and more as each country in the West has a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment. That kind of impact is going to be there.
Very interesting. Yes, I would agree with you. When we came 35 years ago, we were welcomed. Today, the situation is different. It's so things will change. It's every country goes through different steps. So you have to do what is good for you and for the times you are in. Not
Yeah,
because if somebody did it 20 years ago, it will not
correct.
work. There are lots of questions about students of science. Is India encouraging people of science, and especially if you are from a tier 2, tier 3 town, how should they craft their career? Because they don't have the kinds of opportunities that, so they say first thing is let's go to the US,
Yeah,
right? So tier
yeah,
2, tier 3 city youth, some thoughts
yeah.
on
There's a lot of opportunity. You have to really go and find it. For example, I met social impact entrepreneur here who has an NGO in India called Maker Gut, Maker Gut, GHAT. That's a creative space, and there are 10,000 of them in India called makergot.in or something, where you can go create things. It's like make a space where you go in and you can create objects, you can create products. So science is something that you have to go seeking, but there are places like that where you can go experiment, do things. Also, there's an NGO, if you're really interested in science, there's a fantastic NGO called Agastya, Agastya is based in Kuppam, in between Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and Karnataka. There's a town called Kuppam. They're based there. They do hands-on science education. Maybe go volunteer for something like that, where you'll pick up, you'll be able to, you'll be curious, do new experiments around science that other children can learn. So you have to go seeking that. It's not like you said, come to you. It's not just I need to get a science degree, but maybe you can learn science on your own. And now, of course, with Chat GPT, I mean, there's so many things you can pick up. You can question it. You can learn. You can experiment. We didn't have any of that stuff when you and I grew up, Ravi.
Yes,
So
yes, we
it's
didn't have this many
yeah,
opportunities. Even there is the Indian government is investing heavily in Atal Tinkering Labs. There may be an Atal Tinkering Lab in your town. Go be a mentor to some young children. So it's all about trying. And I think the one of the most important things, a word that I personally like, which really shaped my career. I come from a small town called Vijayawada, and I
yeah,
did not speak English growing up. I was in a local medium school, but one word, if all young people out there, is curiosity. I was incredibly curious. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know why people went to the States. Why can't I study in some other town? So make the curiosity as your theme, and if you see an event, go and meet people. Now there is no direct answer. A lot of questions on how can I prepare myself to be competitive is, first of all, learn and network, and just be out there.
yeah. I think so. And as a young person, a lot of us who are older will take some time, hopefully, to talk to you, because when they see someone young, the natural inclination is to help them, right? We meet someone our own age, it might be a different interaction, right? But if you meet someone young, you want to find out, hey, what did you study? Where are you from? What do you want to do in life? I always ask them because the old question was a little different. People would say, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And someone would say, young kids would say, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a doctor. Instead, what I ask young people now is, what problem in the world do you want to solve? You know, just a very different reframing of what a person wants to do. What is the one area you want to try and solve? There's a big problem, you want to solve it, versus saying, I want to be an engineer. That has no purpose in being an engineer, you know?
That's a great question. In fact, as we wrap up, if you can, because there are education challenges, there is healthcare challenges, there is, poverty, so many things. India has so much opportunity to attain the Viksit Bharat, right? So I think if you take MR's question seriously as a homework, what is one problem that is bothering you? Is it the traffic? Is it the healthcare? Is it the education? So whatever that is, and then go use Chat GPT and other AI tools to find out the organizations in your town that are working in that space. Doesn't matter, small, big, whatever, and go and just say, hey, how can I help? Because this problem is bugging me. I want to give. When we hire young people, we want to hear stories like that.
Yeah.
We,
Yeah.
we don't, we, everybody has taken 25, 26 courses in college. Everybody has recommendation letters. How do you become outstanding is when you say, sir, I had this 3 months gap, so I went to my local office and I did this, and this is what I learned. Those stories is what we are looking
Yeah.
for, the stories
Exactly.
of
Great point.
people on
Yeah.
adventure.
Yeah. Great point, Ravi. That these practical tips are what will help you.
Mm, mm. So don't think you are not in Bengaluru or Delhi or one of those four metros. If India has to become Viksit Bharat, the tier two, tier three towns, there's something called per capita GDP, not just GDP, GDP per capita. So we have to really look at how do we get the tier two, tier three towns. Like I know one of my friends is running a very successful company in a town called Raipur, right, in Chhattisgarh. So many startups, so many things going on there. You don't have to be in one of the top five metros. Opportunities exist everywhere, but you have to go out there. I think we talked about
Yeah.
learning, we talked about networking, we talked about asking people for help and volunteering your time. Very, very important. And you will come back to us in a year from now and say, sir, that advice, I went to this place and I met the CEO of this company and things happens. In fact, our intern, MR, the Ayushi,
Yeah.
who actually is the force behind Amritkal Mentors. I was in Mumbai. I was not supposed to be there, but I went for a book launch. She came as a student there, and I didn't know, but she asked a great question in the event, and that's how I got to know about her. I said, if this girl can ask such a question in the midst of so many people in the audience, she must be something. And I just told her, hey, if you are looking for internship, come to me. And here
Yeah.
she is. So everyone, that's a great example of just stand up, just make yourself visible,
Yeah.
right? Visible people get attention, invisible people impossible. So
Yeah.
all the young people should not be in front of your computer, should not be on your head on phones, should be talking to people. That's the when you are flying, when you're traveling, you know, get into a conversation, and that's when magic happens
Yeah, especially now in the age of AI.
in the age of
The
AI.
people to
Exactly.
people interaction becomes even more important because a lot of the time we're asking chat gpt this or that or this, you're interacting very differently and the human component of it can disappear and that is not good.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So I think we are over time. I'm getting the message from thing. So
Yeah.
for all the students who signed up, this is by far the most impactful to listen to MR. I mean, I have learned a lot. Even though I'm not in your, I'm in the third phase of my life, in the 50 to 75 range. So I all your insights were very valuable. So the team shared a feedback form and we'll also send it to you. But MR, last 30 seconds of any key takeaway. If you were as young as these children that you're talking to today, I call them children, but
Yeah.
yeah, what
I
would
know
you tell
all the people we talked to today are my kids age, so I have
your
to do
kids?
the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
Right?
even
I
the
view them
grandchildren.
as my I view them as my children,
That's
right?
so sweet
India's
of
children
so
are
sweet of
our children, my children, your children, right? So I would say uh, what has stood me in good stead, even this past weekend, I'd been putting off things, and there's a life expression, that our age people say life is too short. And yet, when you say life is too short, you don't seize the opportunities immediately. So I had, for the example, this past weekend, a friend of mine had been calling me for years to come visit him, and I'd never found time. This past weekend, I just said, I'm going to do it. So my motto always has been just do it. So if you feel you have to go do something, no, I'm not saying do it impulsively, but make your calculations, make the calculations and do it. So don't procrastinate. A lot of us, including me, I can accuse myself of being procrastinator, right? Don't do it. It's very, very hard, but I try my best to do things. So just whatever you do, take calculated risks, but just do it.
Just do it. How beautiful. So with that, MR, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and for really giving children or those young people lot to think about because it is these young people who are going to shape the India that the world is so anxiously looking, right? In India is such a bottoms up society with 10,000 years of heritage. So everybody should be proud of where you come from. I'm saying this after traveling to all continents all over the world. India is the best place to be very proud of where we came from because we have said that basic compassion,
Yeah.
basic empathy, basic value system, basic humanity, all integrated into our lifestyle. So be proud of where you are. Take opportunities. Don't hesitate to reach out. We are on LinkedIn, and if you don't respond, be persistent. Again, don't expect things to come to you. You should go to things. You should
Yeah.
go out there and do it.
Absolutely, Ravi, you're right on. I still visit India, even though I am a US citizen and live here almost 50 years. I come to India 3 or 4 times a year. It draws me back. There's so much
Exactly.
culture and heritage and friends and family. I keep coming back.
Amazing. And I do that too. I just love going back to India and it because that's our home. That's where we came from, right? That's where our roots are. So to all the young people, wish you all the very best and thanks for joining and up until the next Amrit Kal Mentors talk. And if there is a specific topic that you want us to cover, contact us. Anything that you want to learn, and we will bring the best speakers from all over the world. And MR, I hope some of the people from Indiaspora, please encourage them to,
Yes.
share their wisdom,
Yeah.
because we
Absolutely.
have thousands of colleges that are, essentially offering these talks to their students, and our goal is to all of them to start thinking based on whatever we have learned. Please extend anyone that you want us to reach out to. We'd be happy to engage them and organize a talk. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day, MR. So
Yeah.
Ridhi and Ayushi, back to you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you, MR Sir. Also, I think he's left. I request everyone to please fill in the form. There's a form which I have floated. And if you have any suggestions also at the end of the form, there is an option. You can suggest for any of the topics or any of the sessions, specific sessions you want us to conduct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Rishi and Ayushi, for the
Thank
wonderful
you.
job once again. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for attending.